Hello and welcome to Immortal Behaviour for this week. Joey, good to see you.
Good morning.
Freezing in Sydney today.
Freezing.
Absolutely freezing.
For a lad out of the house, you'd be even colder.
How are you going in lockdown?
No.
You over it?
Just, I think like everyone.
Yeah.
Totally over it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, well, let's talk about some footy. And Mitch Moses, some news came out this week that he actually played through Origin with a fracture in his back, which is quite remarkable. And it happened pretty early on in the game as well.
It happened really. I spoke to him after the game. He said he had some spasm in his back. Little did he know he actually broke his back. So just gives merit to the toughness, and it just goes to show when you're in the moment and your adrenaline's going, how you can push through. It's just amazing. But yeah, well, he had that break in his back, but the last 10, 15 minutes, he's wanted the ball in his hands. So yeah, it's good signs for Mitchell. Hopefully he comes back from this, maybe a couple of weeks, and onwards and upwards.
It speaks volumes about his attitude and just how tough he is. Have you ever played through a game having injured yourself?
I actually broke my back playing.
In the game?
I got a knee in the back, all accidental. Luke Bailey. And I tried to play on, but just couldn't even run. A lot more severe than Mitchell's, obviously.
Yeah. So, because Mitchell's is lower, his is his lower back.
Well, you know the wings that hang. I fractured about 3 of those.
Yeah.
But great effort, Mitchell. Incredible, tough effort.
Well, as you mentioned, it could mean a couple of weeks he's missing for Parramatta. What does that do to their charge towards the finals?
Look, I think they're going to stay in the top 4, whether they come 3rd or 4th. Ideally, you'd like to avoid the Storm, but you sort of can't decide that. I think it'll give Jake Arthur a great opportunity to experience high-pressure footy the next couple of weeks, but also Dylan Brown. It gives him more responsibility. Last week against the Titans, he was sensational, but they got a pretty tough run in. I think they play 5 of the top 7 teams.
Yep, so they've got Raiders, Roosters, Souths, Manly, Cowboys, Storm and Panthers. So 2 pretty tough ones to finish on.
Well, they're going to see where they're at, whether they win most of those and go in with a lot of momentum. But to win it, you've got to finish in the top 4. You have to finish in the top 4.
Well, it's good for them, though, that they are in a pretty good position at the moment. You wouldn't want to be, racing to make the top 8.
No, exactly. And they're fairly healthy. They're such a well-balanced team. People who needs to stand up in the semis, but it's just important for Parramatta. Everyone does their job the best of their ability. I think one player they need to really stand up is Blake Ferguson. If they're going to win the comp, they need him absolutely firing, and wingers are so important in big games where they get the sets rolling, and that's Fergo's, that's his strength. So I feel like Fergo's the one they really need to aim up the next month.
Do you feel like having that time outside the game where he was dropped, do you think that's going to ignite a fire in him?
Who would know with Fergo?
You just have to wait and see with that one.
Just let him go. Wind him up and let him go.
Well, there was...
Don't have to wind him up too much.
There was speculation this week that Anthony Milford could be joining the Eels, and then that was quashed, and then it was re-emerged. Do you think that this injury to Mitch could sort of make that a possibility? You don't think that's off the cards?
They got Jake Arthur there. They've also got Jordan Rankin, who was one of the youngest players to debut, and shows a lot at training. So they got a bit of depth there, but next couple of weeks Mitchell will be back. I don't think they'll go down the avenue of Anthony Milford.
All right, well, let's talk about the Bulldogs, and they've got another big name signing, Tevita Pangai. Do you like this acquisition for them? Yeah,
I think so. Look, if anyone can get the best out of Tevita, it's Phil Gould and Trent Barrett. Look, Tevita's, he's got this perception about him. But a change for Tevita might be the best thing. So fingers crossed he gets there and fulfills that potential. We can all see the player that's in there. He just needs to find that consistency. There's talk that Paul Vaughan will be going there, with Josh Adokar already signing. I think they'll be thereabouts next year around the top 8. I think they'll be threatening. But that bottom part where there's 4 or 5 teams fighting over for that 8th and 7th position, I think they're a chance.
Well, good signs for the Bulldogs. But on Tevita, there is some speculation that he could be set to also join the Panthers for the remainder of this season. What do you think about these short-term sort of deals transfers, where they come in? Yeah, they come in. So he's coming into a team that's already in such a good position from a team that's in probably not the best position.
Well, it's interesting how a fringe player would see this, where they see Tevita taking his opportunity to play in a grand final or the big games at the end of the year. Look, they'd be over the moon. Penrith. I think there's it's a big front rower's name.
Well, the thing that
he's having a baby, his wife,
James Fisher-Harris.
Yes. So how long he's going to be out? He's going to break the bubble, so he'll have to quarantine. So you'd think that's going to be maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So it's a great pickup for Penrith. Gives them more strike.
Would it be if you imagine if you were Tevita, how would you? Would it be a weird feeling coming in? So you're coming into a team halfway through the season, knowing that you're only going to be there for a little bit before you join a completely different team.
It'd be strange. It'd be really strange how you handle that. I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know how to contemplate what that would feel like. But good luck to Tevita. Let's hope he reaches that potential.
And what about imagine if they win the grand final? Grand final day. You started the season, you went through such a tough first half of the season.
Absolutely hammered while he's in Brisbane and he's lifting the trophy. Maybe an up yours.
Certainly some weird times. All right, let's have a look at Luke Brooks. There's always constant speculation about Luke Brooks, where he's going to be. There were some rumours circulating that the Tigers were looking to move him on. Mike Maguire has come out and said that's not the case. What do you think? What do you think about Luke Brooks and his future?
Well, I hope he stays at the Tigers. I'd love to see him get the Tigers to a semi-finals and even go deep into a semi-finals. Look, he's much maligned. Luke, he burst on the scene as a young halfback, but they haven't made the semis while he's been there in that halfback position. Look, there's other reasons, especially this year. He's had no stability with his 5'8", but you know, he's a bit like Tevita. We can all see the talent there. He needs to find that consistency week in, week out. He's got all the skills. He's got it all. Just needs to bring it all together.
Well, we were talking on Sunday about it and how he's had a different halves partner pretty much every single year. How difficult would that be to form a combination, or is it a case of, well, you're playing in the top grade, you should just be able to do that?
No, it'll be incredibly difficult because that's how you build combinations, being out on the field, and you know, it's not necessarily, sometimes it's what you call, it's how you call and how you communicate to each other and how you know each other's games. So Adam Doueihi for me is their 5'8" moving forward. Keep Adam Doueihi there and keep Brooks at halfback. Saw on the weekend against Brisbane, they put on 40 points. I thought they combined really well together. So moving forward, it's Doueihi at 5'8" for me.
Yeah. Sterlo said earlier this week that he still thinks that Luke Brooks' best football is ahead of him. Do you think that that's the case?
Yeah, definitely. If he gets the right players around him. And look, if I was coaching Luke, I'd look at his strengths. So what of his strengths? His strengths are his speed and his footwork, even his ball playing. So I'd look to build combinations with different players on the field and get to know his back rowers and his centres. The big combination's got to be with his dummy half, and also the dummy half's chopped and changed the last sort of 18 months. So he needs to build those combinations and understand what each player, their strength and how he gets the ball to them. So I think that's an area he'd really have to work on. His running game, talk to him about when to run. It's not necessarily how you got to run the ball more. It's about recognising the opportunities when to run. And probably his weakness has been staying in the game and his game management. So I'd be encouraging him, his support play. Just imagine there's a bit of rope on the ball and you should never be 5 metres away from the ball, just constantly following the ball. So what you're doing there, you're in the game constantly, but if something happens, you're on that advantage line to take advantage. So I'd be encouraging get it on the ball as much as possible. Just follow the ball and keep your legs, keep jogging the whole time. Whenever you got the ball, you got to jog. Jog down the field. That way, if something happens, you're there to react.
Yeah.
But he's got to stay in the game. His game management has to improve. But all the other stuff, he's all got it. His kicking game, his passing, his running game, when it's on, is devastating because he's got those sausage dog legs. They're just so hard to tackle.
Well, we looked at the combination of Doueihi and Brooks, and it's got to be the one going forward for the Tigers. Are you surprised that earlier on in the season they were partnered up and then the team was changed again?
I was really surprised when they put Doueihi back to the centres. I just think he's an out-and-out 5'8". Some of his select passing on the weekend, he's got that really great left to right long ball where he hits the winger. I think this combination, especially Jacob Little at dummy half, I think those three players, they can get the Tigers into a semi-final. Maybe not this year, next couple of years, hopefully.
Well, hopefully for Tigers fans. All right, well, another match this weekend, the Roosters and the Knights. Your poor old Knights at the moment. Hoping to see them bounce back.
That was a really disappointing performance on the weekend. And look, there's excuses. They lost Daniel Safidi and they lost Kalen to go with that HIA when he thought he was only winded. He didn't think it was a head knock anyway. But you look at Melbourne, they had no Harry Grant, Pappenhausen, Nelson didn't play. So they had some excuses. And the worrying thing for me after the game, Adam O'Brien said, look, things were different during the week. We had to train this day when normally we have that day off, and we had to move. And it's just like, your players, you just can't give them a reason not to perform. They just can't have an excuse. You know, everyone's had to move, everyone's had to do this. Just get out there and play. So I was really disappointed in the performance last weekend. They get Daniel back this week, Daniel Safidi, he'll add a lot. So hopefully they put up a good fight against the Roosters.
Well, the other interesting thing with that is that the Storm were the probably team that had they were
supposed to be at home.
They were supposed to be at home.
Yeah. And the game was supposed to be in Melbourne.
Yeah, and so they got told, but just before Victoria went into lockdown, pack your
Let's
bags,
go.
we're flying out at 9 p.m. I think only a couple of hours before. So
and you know what? Was it 44-4? The score 44-6 or something? They left about 3 or 4 tries out there. Could have been 60. So they've got to find some fight, the Knights boys, but they get some players back. Daniel Safidi will add a lot. He's a world-class go-forward man.
All right, well, it is the Roosters that they're up against this week, so let's have a look down memory lane. Apart from Freddy, who were some of the toughest players back in the early 90s and early 2000s when they had some of the great clashes?
There's some strong guys up front. Look, Quinton Pongia went there late. Quinton used to scare the hell out of me, the late, great Quinton. He's passed away now, Quinton. But he was so intimidating. You know, it was really hard to tackle. Matt Singh, I always found him so hard to tackle because he was just a ball of muscle and he ran that hard. But Freddy was the man. You know, you had to get over Freddy. For all his kookiness, Freddy was the toughest competitor and physically and mentally so tough. So if you got over him, you were going okay.
What was one of the best games that you had against Freddy?
I used to love them all. We used to go so hard against each other. But you know, no dirty stuff. Just used to rip in and really try to outdo each other. Look, he got that big one in 2000, which I threw that intercept, which still drives me crazy. But we got him the next year, 2001, where we won it. Excuse me. We got him in the first week of the semis, and they were busted. They had injuries. Freddie actually split his lip because he never played in a mouthguard, so it got infected. So it was swollen. He looked like one of those Kardashian ladies. So anyway, I go to do the toss. And Rico's there. I went, "Where's Freddie?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Oh, something." So when we went out to kick off, I looked at Freddie and his lips like that. So I called Ben Kennedy and Steve Simpson over. I went, he went. So that was one to remember. We went on to win the comp that year. After we beat them in the semi, I said we're going to win the comp this year. Yeah. Not a shadow of a doubt.
Did you ever get stuck into each other much on the field?
Bits and pieces, yeah. But nothing nasty, you know. We're just like, "Oh no, let's go." Blah blah blah.
Would he stir? Would he stir you up?
Bits and pieces, yeah. But as I said, you know, we all know Freddie and we love his kookiness, but under that kookiness and alternate lifestyle, there is a drive and a competitive nature and a monster in there that just wants to win. Yeah, that was some great battles, really good times.
When he was playing, what were some of the kookiest things that...
Well, I roomed with him a few times in Origin. It'd be things like, you know, you'd have dinner and say, "Oh, right, we're going to get some ice cream for dessert, some room service." He goes, "Right, if we're going to do that, we're going to go down to the pool, down in Coogee, down the ocean bars, and we're going to do 10 laps underwater." I'd be just going...
What, to burn the ice cream?
No, you got to earn it.
Oh, you got to earn it.
He's got to... Because we're playing Alfie and Kevy, and he'd say, "Righto, what's Alfie and Kevy not doing?" I said, "I'm definitely not swimming at 10 o'clock down at Coogee."
Did you go down?
Yeah, I went down. And then he'd just be there.
Hang on, and this was in Origin camp.
This is an Origin.
This is cold. This is
this time of year.
Freezing.
Yeah. But then he'd say, we'd be out in the field or something, and he'd go, "They haven't done what we've done. We go, yeah. But
All into the mind games.
I'm trying to think what other stuff. Yeah.
He loves a treat too. He's
loves
got
a treat.
tooth.
Yeah.
He feels guilty though.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of any other ones. But they were the sort of things, or he'd say, come on, let's go down to the gym and we'll do an extra gym session. Or, you know what, let's do 200 push-ups. And no nude push-ups. But it was an enjoyable time, but a different time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I had a Freddy.
Yeah.
Love you, Freddy.
I'd love to know what he would say about rooming with you.
Yeah. Yeah, not good.
All right, well, finals is fast approaching. So we're going to have a look at your predicted top 8 for us with 7 rounds to go.
So my top 4, I think, will stay the same. Storm, Penrith, South and the Eels. Eels got a pretty tough run in, but I think they'll win most of their games. I think the Roosters and Manly are locked in that 5th and 6th. And then I've had a look at the draw. I think the Knights, they got on paper a really good run in. So I think the Knights will end up coming 7th, and I got the Sharks coming at 8. I would have put the Raiders in there, but the Raiders got some dramas with the Lightning fullback Xavier Savage is out for the year. Jack Whiten's got that rib cartilage sternum, which just don't go away. So I don't think the Raiders will get there. I think they'll just miss out.
Were they the hardest team to leave off the list? Who
Definitely.
else was in the running? Was there anyone else?
No. I can't get warm on the Titans. There is just a soft underbelly with certain players there. I looked at St George, but with the dramas they've had with their barbecue and players missing, I don't think they'll make. The Sharks got a pretty good run in too. So Knights and Sharks.
All right. Well, next week, this is exciting. Guess what we're going to do on Immortal Behaviour next week?
What's that?
We're going to do fan questions.
Be nice. Be nice, please.
So remember to send in your questions for Joey, and we will be answering them right here next week. I love these episodes.
I bet you do.
They're some of the best ones.
I bet you get some creepy ones. Oh, Danica.
Directed at you.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
All right, well, enjoy the footy over the weekend, and we'll catch you next week here on Immortal Behaviour.